Hey there, welcome back to the vlog. So this is a continuation of a series of videos. I will put the link up to the top to where we first started, where we build the same app over and over using different platforms and technologies, just to give you an idea as to how things are made. Today, we're going to cover something which you may have used but didn't realize that you were using it, and that's something called Electron. Now, in order to understand where Electron comes from, we actually have to go and start with something called Atom. Now, Atom is an editor that is cross-platform, and it is built using JavaScript, HTML, and all that goodness. And it's then bundled up into an executable that you can run. And as you can see here, it's it's a code editor. But it's supposed to be cross-platform. It's supposed to be open source under the hood. It's basically, to give you some consistency across all different platforms. So as you can see, it's a fully featured editor. I have used it in the past, but I personally prefer to use Visual Studio Code for stuff like this. So with that said, I'm just going to put this out the way and I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code. Now what I've done here is I've basically built the app ahead of time, and I'm going to walk you through how it fits together. I just think that'll be quicker and easier than actually sitting here coding this thing up from scratch. So under the hood, this is actually using Node. Now, for those that have not used Node, all you really need to know right now is it's JavaScript, basically, that instead of being confined to a browser, is able to run as a process on your desktop, and as such has access to things like the file system and stuff that it would have been not allowed to touch had it been running in a browser sandbox because of security reasons. In addition to that, there is also what's called the Node Package Manager, which allows you to install other libraries also built in JavaScript that come from a repository, and these can be integrated into your app so you don't have to write everything from scratch. And you can see here, if I go to the left-hand side, we've got this Node modules. A lot of these are standard ones, so there's the ability, for instance, to connect to AWS. There's different concatenation, encryption, Electron, password stuff, hashing. There's just various different libraries that do different pieces of functionality that have been pulled in. So every Node application will have a package.json file, and this basically describes what the app looks like, how it works, how you start it, what it depends on. So we can see here, for instance, that we've got a name, Electron Quick Start, and the reason it's called this is because I just pulled out of the Git repository the basic Quick Start application because it was easier for me to start from there than going from scratch. We have a version number, a description. This is important, this main. This tells Electron where is this app actually going to start. So whilst it goes into package.json to find out where to start, this is actually where it finds the instruction. It says go to main.js, which is this file over here. We have a scripts area, and one of those scripts is start, and we will be using that. And as you can see, when we say start, what it will do is it will run the Electron in the directory which it's currently in. There's the repository where this particular example was pulled from, which I then subsequently expanded. There's some keywords, author stuff, and then some dependency stuff. So going back to this, as you can see at the top here on line 5, we've got main.js is where the main app starts. So let's go to main.js. This is really where the crux of the application starts. In order to understand Electron, what you basically have are HTML files, which are the views for the various windows, and then you have attached to each of those a renderer. So in this case, we've got index.html, and we've got this renderer.js, which has nothing in it at the moment. But coordinating all the various windows and their renderers will be this main.js here. So as you can see at the top, it basically pulls in this Electron library, and it assigns a couple of variable instances, one to Electron app and one to electron.browser window. We then pull in another couple of libraries from Node just to basically access various things on file. Then we have this main window, and this object will basically be what we use to work out the state of the app. So there is then a function called create window, which we will come to in a minute. And then we have app on, so we've got on ready, run create window, on window all closed, run this function here which will quit, and then on activate, if there is no window, go and run create window. So it's the same here and here. So if I go back up to the top to this create window, I'll quickly run you through it. So the first thing we do is we have this main window variable, which is going to be a new browser window with a height and a width. Then we tell that window, go and load, whatever directory you're in, go and load index.html, which is this file over here. We then have on closed, set that variable to null. And that will then obviously trigger down here this code here. If all the windows are closed, as long as we're not on Mac, then quit. And obviously down here it's also looking main window. If it's null, then go and create window. So as you can see, there's not really too much to it. The important part here is this, go and basically open this URL. So let's go into here. So if I go into here, as you can see, it's basically a straightforward HTML file, and I've actually embedded the JavaScript just for the sake of some simplicity into the HTML itself. You could, if you want to, put it in the renderer.js, and at that point you will also have access to everything else that Node has access to. So if you wanted to have charts and all that type of stuff, or you wanted to have special networking capabilities or whatever, like you could just call straight out to the renderer.js, and that is used by this index.html, because you can see here that we actually have it pulled in here. So we've got here a title, we have type something, and there is a text box here called txt input, and we have a button called button read text, and then we have another text box, and its ID is txt output. And when the button is clicked, what that does is it says, right, okay, go and get whatever's in the input value, and we're going to go and put that in the output value. So how does this run? Well, if I just open up terminal. So if you remember back here in the package.json, there was this script here called start. So we're just going to run that. So npm is the node package manager, start. So as you can see, it's now running Electron under the hood, and here's our app. So if I type something here, test, there we go, it works. Now, you might be wondering, well, okay, your example here doesn't look great. How far can you extend it? You've just been watching an Electron app the entire way through. This Visual Studio Code is written in Electron. This is an Electron app. It has lots and lots of functionality, and it has, as you can see here, menus. They're all custom things, but you can actually go out and download the source code for Visual Studio Code, which is a Microsoft product, and you can go through how they built it. There is a way to package the executables up and the DMG files if you're on Mac, and also the same for Linux. Like you can package up your application to run on all the various different platforms, but it literally is just JavaScript, Node, and HTML and CSS. Like there's nothing to it other than that. So that is how you build a application using Electron. What I've done here is very, very bare bones. There is a way to speed up things even more. There is something called PhotonKit. So if I now open this up, so we can see here that there is effectively a user interface kit which allows you to do special things. As you can see here, they're demonstrating how this stuff can all be done. But using this, you can make a cross-platform app which runs on the desktop, and it will work across most major platforms. It will be consistent. It can easily be updated with Node. If I, just as an example, if I quit my app here and go back to here, if I do npm update, like this is how easy it is to upgrade your application once you've written it. So what it's now doing is, oh, okay, it went out to look to see if it could find anything that needed to be updated. Obviously it didn't. Let me just run this just to see if it does anything. Yeah, everything's up to date. So that basically is how an Electron app is built. It's pretty simple, really. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more, please hit subscribe and speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye.